Yeah, Emotional Monday was yesterday. Obviously, the emotions were not set to be making a video. I wanted to talk to you guys about a little topic. It can be considered a myth, it can be considered a theory, it can just be considered a mindset, you know? People have different perspectives about everything, right? Well, today I wanted to talk about the concept of antidepressants. Now, we all know that that term in itself kind of mostly just makes our mind go one place, right? And that is to medications. Now, a while ago, I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast, and he was also talking about this subject, and it was, it was interesting. It got me thinking, so I was like, I want to talk about it with you guys. But it's just about, like, the fact that that's the only thing that comes to our head when we think of the word antidepressants. And in reality, an antidepressant is something that either subsides, helps ease, gives some sort of leverage to our depression. So an antidepressant can be referred to as a whole bunch of things. But I feel like it's been our lack of remembering that and this sudden push towards the pharmaceutical industry just pushing this medicine onto all of these young people. Now, I get it. Medication is needed. A lot of people need medication. There's some people who could not live without it. I get that. But there's a lot of us who can. And the only reason I'm talking about it is because I'm doing it. And I never in my life thought I would. So, yeah. What the heck? What other things can we consider antidepressants? And if you guys aren't into makeup, heck, just play this in the background, We don't gotta watch much. I just want you to listen. So, what the heck? An antidepressant. Do I really have to go to the doctor and get onto pills just to become happy again? Like, don't we think that there was a time back when, I don't know when, but when antidepressants weren't a thing? Like, yes, there's always been pills and weird little psychedelics and substances that people have been using to alter their consciousness and states of mind, but they're real temporary, Some people may take advantage of them, but in most regards, they're pretty temporary. And I think that's what started scaring me about antidepressants so much, was how permanent they were. How permanent I thought they were. Life will always be crazy, you guys. So it's really silly for us again to think that we can gain control over our emotions throughout every single situation that we're even placed into. The heck? We're not superheroes. I mean, some of us strive to be. Some of us have different definitions of what a superhero can be, but all in all, to me, I think there's just such an interesting, there's just such an interesting acceptance of, hey, I'm sick, I need treatment, there's something wrong. You guys, antidepressants can be in the form of what I'm doing right now. I cannot tell you how many times I have been going through complete hell. But the second I turn on this camera, I'm not saying that my problems went away, right? Our problems don't go away until they're solved. But it just helped me fast forward a little bit. You guys helped me fast forward. I think what it comes down to is when we get really anxious and when we're really sad, we just want time to get better. We just want time to pass so things will get better. But we don't understand that that's going to take a little bit more work than just sitting around and waiting, right? Waiting for things to get better. And not like that, but sometimes I feel like that's kind of what medication offers us. It offers us a band-aid to just put on us so we can wait. But during the waiting process, it's not as painful. And don't get me wrong, you guys. I know there's probably a lot of people sitting here listening like, Sarah, if I didn't have that little crutch, if I didn't have that little, extra bit of just, hey, I'm right here, that little soothing comfort that medication gives us. I know a lot of people are saying, like, Sarah, I wouldn't be here, I wouldn't be alive. I get that, you guys. I completely get that. I promise you. But there's a lot of people out there who have not started medications or who are still contemplating medications. And in my opinion, the only thing this society is really pushing is it's really interesting because mental health awareness and advocating for yourself and for others who have the mental illnesses it's very, very important. It's very, very important. But I kind of want to tell you guys about something. I have a brain injury, right? If you guys don't know that, hey, hi, welcome to my channel. I'm weird. But I also have a brain injury. So with that, I kind of have to live my life a little bit differently. And one of the things that I recently did, I think you guys might have remembered a while back, like when I was in college, maybe, I don't remember. I was asked to be a part of a research study for people with brain injuries. And they were kind of debating on the discussion behind it, if volunteer work is really beneficial for people with brain injuries who can't work a normal job, more so meaning to mentally stabilize and help just make life a little bit easier, right? Because I don't know if you know, but having a brain injury is really, really hard, and it is pretty impossible to work a normal job for a plethora of reasons. It's really hard to go to school for a whole number of reasons. So when you feel like you don't really have anything to do, or like you're not really worth anything, you're not really getting anything done, that kind of starts to weigh down on you. And so they were kind of just saying like, hey, if people who have brain injuries just volunteer because they can't work, maybe that will help them with their depression. I was a part of that research study. And one of the craziest things that I realized was just how much volunteer work helped. So it was just interesting because, I was a part of the treatment group, and they obviously have a whole bunch of people, and they'll do a treatment group and a control group. And the treatment group obviously gets treatment, and the other group is just kind of like, they don't get the treatment. And then at the end, they're going to see if the people who got treatment are different than the people who didn't get treatment, right? Right. So yeah, not too long ago, I was at home, and I got a phone call, and 99% of the time, I never answer my phone, only because I'm like, who the heck is on the other line? I don't know. But something in me told me to answer it. And so I answered it, and it was this woman who was in charge of the research study that I had done a few years back, and she was like, yo, we're in the middle of doing another research study for people with brain injuries. We can't find anybody that is currently wanting to be a part of this research study, or anybody in the hospital that is wanting to. Would you maybe be interested? And holy moly, did I low-key freak out. I was like, yes, please. Oh my god. I would love to be a part of another research study, because 99% of the time they're doing this research study to see if certain things will help somebody. So I would love to absolutely be a part of something that's going to benefit not only myself but others as well. So I was just like, oh hell yeah, what is this one about? And she was like, well, this one is actually about a self-advocacy course for people with brain injuries. And if that is something that obviously would be beneficial if it was offered to people after they received a brain injury. And I'm like, what the hell does the self-advocacy even mean? And she was like, sorry, this lighting is horrible, but we're trying to make do. Oh, I go, what the hell is self-advocacy? I'm like, do you mind if you just tell me what that is? And she's like, oh, it's basically your ability to take care of yourself. In a whole bunch of different ways. Do you feed yourself? Do you clean up after yourself? Are you able to make schedule? Are you able to communicate with people? Are you able to take care of yourself? And some of us aren't. And low-key, if I were to be asked that while my dad was still here, I'd be like, hell no. Papa's my caretaker. He wasn't here, I'd be dead. Well, it takes gaining self-advocacy, and I'm not kidding you when I say I think gaining the awareness of having self-advocacy is a antidepressant within itself. It feels helpless not being able to take care of yourself. And what I mean by that is just, I've always wanted to make a kind of a deeper video about my brain injury and what it's like. I've just never really talked about it because I'm like, yo, I'd rather try and figure out how to live normally as opposed to play victim to what is wrong with me. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with understanding the situation that you're in, right? I can't deny that I have a brain injury, but if I live in the shoes that I was living in when my dad was here of, oh my god, poor pity me, I have a brain injury, I can't do anything, I can't go to school, I can't do this, I can't think, oh, I don't know where Sarah would be. So it's kind of just that boost behind you of, hey, you can do this and you don't need anybody else. And I think that is so important. And I feel like one of the reasons why a bunch of us have a tendency to fall into depression, and I know a lot of it can be biological, a lot of it can be, you know, tied down to a chemical imbalance, but some of it isn't tied down to that. Some of it is just extreme forms of anxiety, which we've even talked about, that falls on the normal scale of human emotions. So for us to feel like every time we get anxious, or if we have more anxiety than the average typical folk or whatever, that we have to get on medication. Like, therapy can be considered an antidepressant. I just don't want this young generation, or even this older generation, to fall into this mindset that they can't fix themselves. This is coming from somebody who literally, you guys, was at rock bottom. I always have been an advocate for carrying forward and not allowing myself, at least, to do my best to not become a victim of my story or my past. And I feel like that is another thing that can cause a lot of us to become just depressed, is we become our story, not understanding that we live past our story, and that our story is something that is always continuously evolving. It's not something that's permanent. Yes, when, like, you know, when you're reading a book, it's not like you could go back and change chapter 1. Chapter 1 is published, it's printed, it's said, it's done. But if it weren't for chapter 1, there wouldn't be chapter 2 or chapter 3 or chapter 4. There wouldn't be a second book. There wouldn't be a third volume. There wouldn't be a trilogy. Like, you know, I think that's the same thing. But there would not be what's to come next. Now, if that author would have stayed stuck in chapter 1, stayed stuck on the same characters, the same scenarios, the same lessons, where would this story be, right? Where would that legacy of that life be? Stagnant waters are going to get dark and murky. That's what happens to our life if we remain stagnant, you guys. Some of us, we can't work right now. Some of us, we can't go to school. Our emotions are just crazy, or we do, but it has such a toll on us that it's literally, in our heads, we're like, is it even worth it? So that's why I'm asking you, is it worth, you know, getting on a pill that's going to chemically alter your head? Or do we want to just try to become a little bit more of a self-advocate, you know? Saying, I've got this, I can do this by myself. I don't need to run, and this is just my opinions, and I know I might get backlash. I just miss when I was able to talk on my channel and not really worry about, like, catering to everybody. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's another thing that's causing us to fall into depression, is we're trying to please everybody. We're becoming people pleasers. We need to go out there and light people's candles. If other people don't want to be, like, pleased by us, cool. It's not our job to please them. I've always found it so hard to try to explain myself to a doctor and be like, yo, this is what's wrong with me. This is that, that's this. And then them just say, oh, okay, here's a pill that's going to fix that. You know, I don't want us to just run to that being the final solution. Some people can like different. And if you don't agree with what I'm saying, like, you don't really have to watch this video. You don't have to listen to this, like, perspective. I just feel like I needed to share this because it's like, I even find myself literally texting my best friend and being like, yo, do you think it's a good idea? Like, I need to get back on meds. I'm sorry, but I need to get back on medication. My life would be better. My YouTube would be more under control. Like, I'd be a human functioning in society. We can do that by ourselves, you guys. We don't need to take some quote-unquote happy pill that's going to turn us into just a zombie. And like I said, some people are like, no, Sarah, it doesn't just turn you into a zombie. I know, like, I get it because I've been on medication that work amazing, like antidepressants, sleep medication, anti-anxiety medications, and, like, I know this is but antipsychotic medications. And it's like, I promise you, this, Sarah, like, this mentality would not have existed had I had the same mindset when I was on medication. When I was on medication, oh my God, that was it. That was the only thing that could save me. I could not save myself. And it was that mentality that I feel like started poisoning myself. I don't know if any of you guys find yourself falling into that situation where you're just like, I don't know, you guys, I just don't want anybody to feel helpless. Because I've been there and it sucks. And relying on a pill or another doctor it's like, I don't know. If I would have been painting, or if I would have, like, gone back into jiu-jitsu or just started doing something different, I feel like I wouldn't have the regrets that I have, and the only reason I say that I have regrets is because I was not Sarah on that medicine. I was not myself, and I don't want us to stray further from ourselves just to try to find happiness that's inside of us. And I really also wanted to make this video because there's so many of you guys out there that are asking me like, yo, I don't want to be on my medication anymore, but you're scared to get off of it. And trust me, I was too. And I am not gonna lie to you. I literally stopped taking my medication cold turkey. That is not something that you want to do. That can wind you up in a hospital. You don't want to do that. There are so many healthy ways, and I'm not going to be the doctor here to sit you and tell you how to tamper off of your medication. Hell no. Oh no, never. I'm just telling you that I had to go through a whole nother cycle getting off of them as I did getting on them, just for me to realize it was never really in my best interest to be on them in the first place. Yes, it was an experience that I needed for me to kind of open my eyes and be like, yo, like people say, antidepressants don't just come in a pill. They really don't. We don't have to numb ourselves or emotions that we're feeling just to try to like make it into the next day. And I promise you guys, life is so hard. Life is miserable. Life is horrible. But the second we start gaining control over ourselves, having self-advocacy, you guys, the only reason I'm saying this is that with that research group, it was like a month long. Maybe even a little bit longer, but every week we would all meet together, and it was a whole bunch of us with brain injuries, and we had one person who was in charge of everything, and she was the same woman who like wrote the whole handbook. It was freaking crazy. But it had been a couple years since I had been around people with brain injuries, and the other people that I had been around, they didn't have, like, I'm not one to like be able to dictate or judge, but based on like my surroundings and based on what I heard and just everything that was being said, they didn't have that bad of a brain injury. And honestly, on everything, I know that each and every one of those individuals sitting in there said the same thing about me. But what I can also say is I was not always in this position. I was not always articulating my speech well. I was not always able to think or multitask. It takes so much practice, and it took me self-advocating for myself when I kind of really didn't even know that I was, you know? So if you think about it, if you've ever gotten out of a really serious relationship, if you've ever had a loved one die, and you have had to unconsciously start morphing your schedule into something completely different, or your lifestyle into something different, maybe you have to start paying bills that you never had to pay. You have to start working harder that you never had to do before. You're self-advocating for yourself because somebody else is not there to cater, you know, to help you anymore. And I feel like that's where some of us fall into such sadness, is because we're expecting other people to cater to us. We're expecting other people to tend to our needs and to make us happy. Like, we expect the person we wake up to and next to, or even go to work with, to make us happy, to make our mornings. You know, we're waiting for the time to take our next medication, and then like we're happy. But if any of you guys have been on medication, it's not fun. You know, maybe it is when you finally find what's right, but I just felt high. I just felt dazed and confused and high, and I didn't like it. If there's anybody out there who maybe has never, like, you know, heard my story, you might not really know me. I don't want, like, people to think that I'm just talking out my asshole and being like, oh yeah, as a normal person who just, like, la-da-da-da-da. I've been trying to tell myself I'm not going to allow myself to play victim of my story anymore. It doesn't matter who has passed away in the, like, you know what I mean? Like, I know that sounds crazy, but it's like, no, that's not affecting my life right now. If it does affect my life right now, I'm going downhill. And I can't allow that to happen anymore. The thing that kept going through my head was just, okay, well, what if I want to stop taking this medication? Am I just going to feel everything that I felt before? And some people will not be able to have the option of being able to choose whether they take medications or not. You know, some people absolutely have to. Their life depends on it. If you do not fall into that situation or that scenario, do everything in your power to make sure that you don't fall into that. Don't just place yourself into that category because it's easy. I'm going to be the one giving you tough love. I've been real nice lately. I've been too nice lately. I've been caring too much about, like, you know, what other people think of me, what other people will think about my opinions. Like, I've literally privated videos of mine because people just don't understand where I'm coming from. I don't like seeing all of these young people taking medications. I really don't. I also don't like that I even have a mindset where it's almost, I hate the word, but it's a trigger for me. Like, that's, you know, how some people stop doing drugs and stuff. I never want to go back to that place where I feel like I am so out of control that I have to run for help, basically. This makeup is going so bad, and it's because I'm literally trying to talk and do this at the same time. I guess my multitasking skills aren't too great right now. I mean, buying a new plant. When my dad passed away, you guys, and I wasn't on any antidepressants, that was when I really wanted to get back onto medications, because, like I said, feeling out of control and unstable is one of the most uncomfortable and unflattering feelings a human could go through, period. And I obviously do, like, who wants to feel that? Who wants to feel pain? But like I said, that's what it takes. We got to go through the first chapter of life. We have to feel what the first chapter has to offer us, so then we can carry out our life. We can raise maybe another person, and we're not so just one way of thinking. We've maybe it will take people going down a similar journey of getting on medications and allowing that to be of your assistance while you're getting therapy, Like, I mean, I don't think it's very accurate of me to say I would not be where I was if I was not on medications. Did they help me? Yes, but like I said, thinking back, I was spending so much time dipping and dabbling into different medications and drugs that I could have read a book and gained all the insight and knowledge that I gained over a year of me having to self-actualize with myself. I'll never regret that journey, So of course, I want you guys to kind of understand that. We can go to the next chapter and we can start new. We can start with a whole new slate. We don't just have to be like, oh, this is it. Last year I was on medications and that's what worked for me, so that's what I have to do this year. We don't have to think that way, you guys. Or maybe, you've been in therapy for a really long time and it's just not working out for you. I think therapy has such its advantages and disadvantages, One of my biggest struggles was just that I felt like shit after I left because I missed being able to just be open and express myself and almost feel confident with my emotions. But then when I left my therapist or when I left my psychologist or when you leave anybody, it's kind of like, oh hell, you're back into the real world. So that's why I think it's it's beneficial for us in our younger years as adolescents and growing into teens and young adults. We start kind of learning the harsh reality of the world. If we're numbed down with medication, we're not going to feel what we really need to feel. And I'm just being honest. I was never sad or crying when I was on antidepressants. Yeah, that's a good fun time. Who wants to be crying all the time? But that wasn't my reality, and that's not the life that, I don't know how to explain it, but obviously I was given that life filled with that situation for a reason, for me to feel those emotions. Think about it. What if we were destined to feel certain emotions and because we cut them out, our true purpose isn't met? What if we were supposed to be counselors or something, but it took us feeling all of these crazy, crazy emotions? It's one thing to get on medication and not feel so badly, right? Not feel so harsh or feel like we're fighting against the world or, anything like that. But then it makes it a little bit harder to feel the true pain of others. I can actually say, damn, I've felt that before, so let me try to explain things that have helped me. Getting a YouTube was one of the best things, one of my best choices, and I know there's so many of you out there that I have been telling over and over again, yo, just get a YouTube, just try, just start. It's someone to talk to. People might not always listen. I'm an example. You don't care about that, If your antidepressant is drawing pictures, if it's painting, if it's anything, if it's writing, use those escapes, you guys. It's so easy for us to just get caught up in life and in all of the emotions, and a lot of us are trying to figure out relationships. We're trying to mend old friendships, and the emotions are tough, they're rough, but I promise you guys, I would rather feel those than feel nothing at all or just feel complete happiness. And I know that sounds really weird, and I'm probably gonna look back at this while I'm editing and be like, bro, what do you mean you don't want to just feel complete happiness? I don't want to be a robot, you know? I want to be able to experience a range of emotions, you know? And if something becomes unhealthy, and if our body is telling us what we're doing is unhealthy, that's where I want to be. Something else that I was thinking about earlier, because I was like, yo, take some notes. Don't be her. Me being Sarah, like, don't be the weird Sarah. When you don't follow any notes or anything like that. So I was trying to brainstorm little examples in my head of things that I now do kind of like instead of my medication. And one thing that popped into my head was how I've recently gotten back on social media. And how the reason why I got off of social media is because of how depressed it was making me and how disgusting it made me feel. And now, all of a sudden, it's one of my main sources of motivation and inspiration and trust that everything's gonna be okay. This sounds crazy, especially coming from a generation that's literally, and I was even myself, turning away from social media and explaining how negative and harmful it can be. Anything can be negative and harmful, you guys. Eating too many apples can be negative and harmful. Working out too much can be negative and harmful. Anything can be negative and harmful, you guys. That's why it's so important to understand moderation. And if you are not in a proper mindset that it is okay to walk away, you guys. It is okay. Like for me, if I would have not gotten off of social media, I would be comparing myself. I'd probably have lip injections. I would probably, be living somewhere else, not happy, not really being me, being myself. So I got off of social media. And I was like, no, it's toxic, it's disgusting. That was my mindset. It was my mindset that was toxic. It was my mindset that was murky. It was my chapter book that needed a new page, but I didn't flip it. It was my Instagram feed that needed refreshing, but I just didn't click it. Instead, I blamed all of the people I was following, all of the pretty girls, all of the happy girls, all of the successful people, blaming them for my unhappiness and saying, I can't look at you. I can't see none of that. I can't see it because it's toxic to me. Like, isn't that silly that us as young females feel like, I may be only speaking for myself, but there was a point in my life where I felt like I could not even look at other people because I would be so jealous, or I'd be like, why can't I look like that? Why can't I have a body like that? Instead of being mesmerized, or what would be the word? Instead of being, taken back and not allowing somebody else's beauty to dictate how we feel, you guys. A lot of people have no control over the way they look. If they're a pretty person, they're a pretty person. And for us to harsh our own mellow because of that, it's so sad. And again, that's what I was doing on social media. I was like, oh my God, either I was following them because I wanted to look like them, I wanted motivation to look like them, I wanted tips and tricks to look like that. I was not in the right mindset. So I got off of everything, I got off of Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I think that's it that I was using. And I got off of it all. And for years, I was off, and I didn't want anything to do with it. I didn't want to touch it. And then what was so funny is I had this big head on my shoulders, this big ego trip, where when people would ask me what my Instagram was, I don't have one. I don't have one. It's like, okay, you're cool, whatever. Then I went in through that phase, and then I grew up a little bit more. It's like, I'm telling you, you guys have to go through different chapters of life to even become who we're really meant to be, So then I went through this other phase. I was like, you know what, who really cares if I don't have an Instagram or not? I really don't care. It doesn't matter. To then me thinking to myself, all right, Sarah, well, you've only been taking advantage of one platform for 4 years, and it's obviously not benefiting you right now in this moment. It'd be different if I was getting the same amount of views as I had subscribers and I was making money off of this site, So I was crippling myself. I wasn't being a self-advocate. I was allowing myself to become depressed instead of flipping a new page. Instead of me saying, all right, let me just go get back on medications and then this scenario won't seem so sad. The scenario would be just as sad. I just wouldn't be feeling the sadness, if that makes sense. So instead, I was like, yo, well, there's other platforms. I don't like Snapchat. I just don't like the idea of it. But hey, Instagram is pretty cool. Instagram can be used as a platform. I want to be a model one day. I'm freaking dying to be a model one day. Maybe this can be my portfolio, you know? I want to be a makeup artist. This can be my portfolio of saying, hey, not only look at my progress, look at my creativity, look at the work I've done, look at the collaborations I've done, look at the brand deals I've made. It can just be another platform to excel on, for me to spread knowledge or just even my little bits of my stories, my weird perspectives. It's just another place. And holy hell, I'm not trying to like be down on YouTube, but I've never been so happy on another platform. People are there for you in ways that I've never experienced in my life. Like, I cannot tell you how every day we share sunsets with each other, and I have over 100+ highlights on my thing of just sunsets and nature. You guys, we've created like a circle and a bubble that I created on YouTube, but it kind of disappeared a little bit. I don't know how. We're trying to figure it out. We're getting it back. But I could have been depressed and just stayed on YouTube and been like, oh, my views are 8,000 views. Nobody's watching my stuff. Nobody wants none of that. To then being like, well, hey, Sarah, be a self-advocate. Learn something new about the algorithm. Learn that there's new people working. Things are changing. People aren't into, like, you're not relatable anymore type shit. You know what I mean? Which is okay. You can either stay in that old chapter of like, hey, can you listen to my story? Or have a new one. Be a new person. Have a new story. So that's what I'm trying to do. And the only reason I'm saying this is I would never be thinking this. I don't think I would be. I cannot predict the future, the past, none of that. If I would have started getting back onto medications. I don't think I would be as motivated and energized just off of my core being. And I promise I don't mean to be trying to talk down about any types of medications or anything like that. I just firmly believe that we're conditioning ourselves into just not wanting to deal with reality. We want to be in the fantasy. We want to look like the fantasy. We want to look like everybody else. We want to live the life of everybody else. That's not reality. You know? It's just not. I mean, as much as I wish I could sit here and tell you that it is, it's not. And if you are seeing a doctor who is just the first thing, because I promise you that's all my doctors wanted me to do is, yo, this girl's wild, she needs medication. It's like, yes, that's probably way easier than treating the case within itself, the nuthead within herself. But we don't want to take the easy route. I'd rather figure out how to not be a nuthead by myself than like take a pill. It's so sad, and what breaks my heart even more is when I see children on medication, even if it's for stuff like ADHD. It's a child. But what do you guys think? Do you think that society is just kind of doing what it's always done? People have always taken medication. People always will continue to do what they want? Or have you noticed an increase? Have you noticed kind of just a normalization? Like, you guys, I've literally seen YouTube videos of people that will just try to prove a point. Like, I get it, but I don't get it at the same time. Who will just stop what they're doing and on camera take their medications. Like, you know what, you think I'm crazy? Oh, crazy people need to take pills? And it's just like, we need to normalize self-discovery and self-advocating for ourselves. We need to start normalizing the fact that we don't have to depend on other people, other substances. We don't need to depend on the future for our happiness. It's inside you guys. Yes, it's sometimes hard to find and hard to see and hard to understand, but we have our whole lives ahead of us. Our whole lives ahead of us. So like I said, if that's a journey that you would like to try to discover and just see what it has to offer, and see if, you know, medications will help ease your journey, go ahead and try it. Just, you know, go ahead and try it. I just wish there was other options being placed on the table. Because literally, you guys, when I was in therapy, I promise, I was just like, oh, that's not working. Instead of trying this new technique when you go home, let's just try this new drug. Even if it's not happening right now. Like, right in with me, I know I'm not who I am, like, literally destined to be. I know that wild woman inside of me has, like, an ice box around her, and she has been chiseling and trying to break free for so freaking long. But what have I been doing? I've been trying to numb it, try to be quiet, try to be controlled, try to be normal, try to be like, trying to be me. It doesn't work, you guys, and please take my advice. Please learn from my mistakes. Like, yes, it's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from them, but remember what I always live by? Learn from the mistakes of others so your ass doesn't even need to make them to begin with. Holy moly. Also, if fashion or makeup or beauty or your hair or piercings or tattoos, however you choose to express yourself helps you, it eases some of that built up frustration and anger, bro, by all means. Express yourself. You can't express yourself if you're not truly, you smell good, if you're not truly yourself, if you're not even truly feeling who you're supposed to be. And I really don't want anybody who may be watching this and are on medications to feel bad. Holy hell, that is not my intention. I just wanted to come on here and explain that there are other options for people, or maybe if you are on medications, there's just other options. If you are frustrated with how things are going, if you're tired of taking medications, that's how it came down to me. Yes, it was fun. Yes, I felt amazing. Yes, I was happy and I was laughing and I was cracking jokes that were just so good. But I got tired of it because I knew, a part of me knew I was only acting like that because I was taking that pill. And I was like, yo, Sarah, you really wouldn't want to have to take that your whole life? Or do you want to just, take it temporarily until you're able to be like, hey, I think I'm ready to kind of take this. I think I'm ready to take it on. It's always okay to use a Band-Aid. There's some people who get a cut and they choose to not use a Band-Aid. It still heals, But if you need to use a Band-Aid to help aid the process of healing, some of our immune systems aren't as good as other people's. Some of us really do need Band-Aids. That's okay. That doesn't mean we have to make those people or make ourselves feel less. No. The fact that we are simply taking the steps, the action, trying a new chapter to see if we can see progress, you're winning. You are winning, and don't let anybody tell you different. So I am going to pause my camera, finish my makeup. I'm so sorry if some of you guys are watching this for my makeup, but my camera's about to die. We can't have that happen. I added some lashes. Okay, so we're back. So I can't remember where I left off. And then it's funny because while I was off camera, I was like, oh my gosh, I had thought of so many things that I wanted to add on. But, I don't know. And I also think that it is absolutely okay for people to have different opinions. Some people may have a completely different outlook on medications than I do, but I think that's okay as well. Imagine if everybody felt the exact same way, or imagine if everybody was required to get onto medication or antidepressants just so we didn't have to feel sad or any of that. Could you guys imagine that? So I think that it's also really important for us to be able to understand that it is absolutely okay for our opinions or our perceptions or outlooks, whatever you want to call it. It is okay that they evolve, that they change. I mean, our perspectives may not change completely. We may keep the same perspectives, but then have more of an understanding behind why we feel that way. But I don't want anybody to feel pressured into having to conform into another way of thinking or another person's perspective because that's what quote-unquote works. You know what I mean? So for example, if you are a person who is seeing a therapist or are seeing a doctor or want to, and they are trying to convince you that medication is the best route for you, or that you have to do it, or that's the only thing that's that's the only option available, I would try to talk to them about other options apart from just medication. One thing that I know for sure, and I will live forever by, is there will be no drug or no medication that will ever give me the feeling that gymnastics gave me. Oh my goodness. That was the craziest natural high I will ever experience, and that was something that is interesting because in my my last TBI group, my brain injury, that was something that we talked about. One of the people that was there used to go skydiving and used to be really outdoorsy, but now they can't do that anymore, and they were kind of just explaining to the group they don't know what to do because they can't reach that happiness anymore. And it's kind of like, do we just accept the fact that You know, we don't reach that happiness anymore. And there were some people in the group that were like, you know, no, you can do other things. You know, there's indoor skydiving, there's other safe ways of exploring this world that you can go about. And they're like, no, I want to skydive. I want that natural high of skydiving. And I was like, I feel you. I want to be able to do 3 backflips in a row again. I want to be able to spin myself 3 times. I want to be able to leap from here to here, but I can't do that anymore. So that's where I think it is so important for us to understand the flipping of the page, the accepting of a new chapter, because life cannot always remain the same. What used to make us happy might not make us happy anymore. And I feel like that's something else that we don't really think about. Like, hey, damn, maybe I've changed as a person, and it's not that I'm depressed. It's just that the things that used to make me happy, they don't make me happy anymore. So now I'm not really having an activity of mine. I'm not really having a time out of my day where I'm fulfilling that little bit of happiness that my soul needs. That might just be it. Maybe you don't like riding your bike anymore. Maybe you're going to enjoy painting more. Or maybe you used to really enjoy makeup, but now you have a newfound love for singing. But if you would have stayed stuck on makeup, or if you would have stayed stuck on trying to ride a bike when you just don't want to do that anymore, or it's not fun anymore. Remember, I swore in our last video we talked about that, how you can't go into something just being emotional. You have to cognitively think about it too. So if we're cognitively thinking about stuff and then emotionally reacting, it's a little bit difficult, right? That's where we said sometimes we go with our emotions because our emotions are so powerful. And that's why I feel like some of us are like, well, hell, my emotions are so powerful that I need to get back onto medication so I can cognitively think again. But if this will give you that little boost of encouragement to just start taking more care of yourself. That doesn't mean you stop medication. That does not mean you change your mind because you were going to start medication. That just means that you see everything that's out on the table. And you take into consideration both the benefits and the harms that this may cause. A lot of people, a lot of doctors just talk about the good stuff. I was never, ever informed about the side effects. I was never, ever informed about like the dreams. Some of it is, like some of the stuff's weird, but you kind of, you know what I'm saying? I have a new primer I'm trying for the first time. It's the Maybelline Master Prime Primer Base Blur and Pore Minimizing Primer. And I really like the feel of it. So think about that. Think about maybe, you know, what used to make us happy. So like even be me. Gymnastics, that was my everything. That was my absolute everything. I used to really, really, really enjoy it. It doesn't bring me the same pleasure anymore because I literally can't do anything that I used to do. So I have found new outlets. I have found a passion for makeup that I knew I had, but I had no idea to what extent. You guys, I started reading books. Oh my goodness. And you know, this is just something for maybe somebody to keep in mind, but no matter what medication I was on, it was very, very hard for me. And I already have memory problems. It was very, very hard for me to remember what I was reading. Now that I'm off medications and I have taken, you know, a few years to kind of settle into the way I feel, the way my emotions work, learning what my temperament is like, learning why some things make me upset or why certain things trigger me, or, you know, like we've talked about in other videos, learning that maybe it's our comfort zone that is very, very small and we have such weird expectations for the outside world that we don't want to expand our comfort zone. So a lot of our discomfort and our depression and our anxiety is just coming out of the fact that our comfort zone is, again, this big, but the world is this big. Not everything's going to make us comfortable, you guys, and not everybody's going to make us comfortable. And it's not their job. It's not the world's job to make us comfortable. It's our job to make ourselves as comfortable as possible so we can be the best person, the best benefit to society, the best self-advocate you can be for yourself, so then you can teach others, you can motivate others, you can benefit others, you know? That's my number one thing I regret, is just allowing myself to become so goofy and sad. And then think that I didn't have any other choice but what I was doing in that moment. I need new foundation. And one of the reasons why I love talking about the benefits that plants have is because I know I started talking about this. I don't think I finished. But when my dad first passed away, I mean, you never really know when someone is going to pass away. So beforehand, him and I had already started doing a whole bunch of planting, and we had planted a whole bunch of seeds. And it was him who actually kind of tapped me on my shoulder and was like, hey dude, you're actually doing a little bit better. Like, I can see some progress in you. And what it was I had a reason to get up in the morning. I did not want all of those little seeds to die. I wanted to grow vegetables. I wanted to try to grow fruits. I wanted to try to grow flowers. But it was up to me to get those little lives going. And if it wasn't, like, if I did not do that, if I did not even get up at a right time before the sun started eating everything away, just burning it all up, my plants would be dead, you know? It was that I had found a passion. Maybe your passion is dogs. Maybe your passion is cars. Maybe your passion is cooking. If you wake up and you're doing what you love and what you enjoy, there's no feeling that can compare to that. It is so difficult to wake up when you don't want to wake up, you guys, to get out of bed when you don't want to get out of bed. But if you got a new fish that you just want to feed, or you just want to watch for a little bit, or you have a new kitten, you got a new plant, a new succulent you want to try to propagate, it gives you a little boost. And not only that, but you kind of feel like something is relying on you, like you feel like you have a purpose, and you do. You always have a purpose. But sometimes we forget, and sometimes we don't, remember our purpose. Having a little bit of purpose and feeling like we're wanted and needed, it's very important. And having plants, you guys, holy hell, that's why I surround myself with plants. Not only are they benefiting me by helping me clean my toxic air, but they're really just beneficial. I'm gonna pause one more time because the flipping camera's dying again, and I got nowhere. Nowhere. I'm back. Let's sum up the video. 1, there's absolutely no reason to be ashamed for feeling out of control. 2, there's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to get help for the way you are feeling, or for wanting to better yourself because you know you have the potential. I do not, and I know I mentioned this already, but I do not want anybody to feel down because they have to take medications. I don't want anybody to feel down for choosing that as an option to just see how it works for you. What is a problem is if we don't do anything. And it's when we don't do anything that all of the big problems occur. And it's always when I'm not doing what I need to be doing to feed my soul, to feed my spirit, to feed the wild woman inside of me, that I feel depressed. And again, I feel helpless and out of control, and like I need to find an outside source to help ease all of my pain, when in reality, I just need to bite the bullet and carry on. I really hope that you guys kind of enjoyed this style of video. I know I didn't really get the real makeup look all the way in. I mean, I don't think that matters. It probably looks like everything I've already done. I'm just kidding. That is not the confidence we are going to be carrying. But I really wanted to try to maybe like get into these styles of videos in case maybe you just don't want to watch the makeup, but you want to listen, or maybe you want to watch makeup and listen at the same time. I don't know. Let me know what you guys thought about this. Let me know what you guys thought about the topic. I'm sorry if it was all over the place. Again, I'm not very good at multitasking sometimes. Practice makes perfect though, so I'm really hoping. It's a little muddy right there. I'm really hoping that I'll get better at these and we can have more fun talks. But I'm sorry for not getting this up yesterday. I didn't want to put up a shitty video just because I needed to put a video up. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this. I hope you're having an amazing start to your week, and I hope you are looking forward to new videos. Please take care of yourself and don't be so harsh. Don't harsh your own mellow, dude. Don't do it. Oh yeah, and if you wanted a little zoom in of the makeup look, I've never used the eyeshadow. I've used everything else. Also, I've never used this primer before, so I'm going to have to let you guys know how I like it. It does seem like it's a little bit drying. I hope I don't crease. We shall see. I used the Bad Habits Solstice palette. Look at how beautiful that is. I feel like it's perfect for fall and Christmas. It's perfect for whenever you want it to be. So yeah, I hope you guys know that there's no right or wrong way to live life, but learn from your mistakes, learn from other people's mistakes, and just try to be the best damn person you can. Karma will do its work and the universe will do its work. You don't need to try to do anything else. Alright guys, I'm gonna go now.